All right, we're back again, baby. The Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast.
Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast, yeah.
Let's meet your boy Julian. You know we got with us. Brandon, say what's up.
What's good? What's good?
So we're recording this on Monday night. It's the second half of the Colts and Ravens game. I'm hoping those Colts stay on top because my Browns lost. So I need the Ravens to lose again. So they could still stay tied at the top of the division. But for fantasy wise, Lamar Jackson not looking that great. Carson Wentz is out playing him. That's pretty interesting. But we'll move on to the news or nothing after week 5, looking into week 6. News or nothing. Breaking news, but is it nothing? John Gruden is now out as head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Does this diminish all value of Raiders players in fantasy, or is it nothing? What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, I'm gonna say nothing, man. He's a head coach. Like if it was Andy Reid for the Chiefs, maybe, or a head coach that is like Sean Payton for the Saints, then it may have some fantasy impact. But ones are still ones. You know what I mean? Like I still feel like Derek Carr is gonna have some fantasy value. Waller's gonna have some fantasy value. Jacobs gonna have some fantasy value. So I don't necessarily see John Gruden getting fired kind of having an impact on the fantasy value of those guys at all, because I mean the offense coordinator is still gonna offense coordinate, you know what I mean? So whatever they've been producing thus far, I don't think John Gruden being there now is gonna have any impact on that.
So I don't think it's nothing, but I don't think it's big news. I think we have to wait to see how it plays out. I think little things can come into play. Maybe Kenyon Drake gets more touches. They don't really feed him at all. They feed Peyton Barber if Jacobs is out. Maybe they start feeding Kenyon Drake. The philosophy will change a little bit. So something little like that. Maybe Henry Ruggs gets the ball even more, or maybe he goes into a slot role. I mean, I think little things can possibly change, but in the middle of the season, I don't expect too much change.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't expect it to change that much, just because I feel like, I mean, it's all in how heavy John Gruden was in like the play calling and schematics and stuff like that. I mean, maybe he had a deeper role into it, if like I said, but I mean, he definitely doesn't have the same offensive impact as like a Sean Payton or like an Andy Reid. So I wouldn't really stress that too much.
Right. The only real fantasy superstar amongst that crew anyways, Darren Waller. And I can't imagine they stop feeding Darren Waller. So if I had to pick one, I'd say nothing, but it's going to be a little something. And I think the little something we'll find out will be, are they more run heavy? Are they more pass heavy? Are they
true? And
are they feeding? Do they want Josh Jacobs to be in every down back?
Yeah.
So I think those things will they'll develop throughout the season. So a little bit of news, but I think it's way too early to tell what the fantasy impact will be from that. Next thing, news or nothing for pass catchers in Pittsburgh that Juju Smith-Schuster is out for the season.
I think the value of Deontay Johnson and Claypool ultimately are going to remain the same, just because I feel like Juju's been having a down year anyway. So I mean, unless he was drawing coverage to allow Claypool and Deontay Johnson to take single coverage, which I don't think so. I mean, Deontay Johnson and Claypool, in my opinion, were like 1 and 2. You know what I mean? Like Juju's role has been, I feel like severely diminished since Antonio Brown left there. So I don't think it really impacts Deontay Johnson and Claypool. I feel like they may get more targets than they normally get, but they're already, for me, 1 and 2.
Right. I think it is something, and I think that Claypool and Deontay Johnson's value does increase. Maybe it's not too much, but I think it does. And I think this game, Them winning, I definitely did not anticipate them beating the Broncos. That's a tough
Yeah.
defense, and Ben has been terrible thus far. And this week, now he showed he could still air it out with Deontay Johnson. He fed Claypool a lot, found him in the red zone, in the end zone. So I think their value after this week, I think you have to say it's increased. So when Juju went out, we were seeing a lot of Claypool, and Deontay Johnson got his rocket early on in the game. So I do think their value is increased. I think every pass catcher their value goes up when a relative star on your team is no longer there to catch balls. So yeah, I think their value increases, but essentially you either have Claypool and Deontay Johnson or you don't. They're not guys that can be on your waiver wire. So now, if you're trading them away, you can ask for a little bit more, or if you're trading for them, anticipate that person wanting a little bit more, because I think the value does go up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Claypool and Deontay Johnson were guys that you still had on your roster regardless, though. Like, I mean, you can start those guys, pretty much weekly anyway. I don't necessarily. I mean, if you look at it,
going into this week, I disagree. I don't think they were just stick it and forget it type of guys.
No.
Plug and play. But now going forward, guys. Sure, okay, sure. I think going forward, you play them unless you're just crazy stacked wide receiver. Yeah. You play them every week, and I think that's the difference. Because with those three guys, you can never be sure who was going to be the guy that week. Even though Juju hasn't been the guy, his potential to be the guy at any time. Yeah. Oh, Lamar trying to get in. Oh, and Lamar fumbles it. Oh, we're watching this real time. Lamar Jackson just fumbled, and they're trying to run it back for a touchdown, and they do. Wow.
Jesus.
The 1-3 Colts are putting a beating down on those Ravens. I love it. That was a great play. That was a great defensive play. Okay, back to what we were discussing. I think I don't know. We'll sure they'll review it because it's a scoring play. But the point being, yeah, I think now you could feel comfortable putting them in your lineup every single week.
Yeah. Right. And especially in your league because there's two flexes. So.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, they're reviewing it. Was it knee down? And he was losing the ball. He was losing the ball before the knee was down. All right, back to the butters and the biscuits. All right, so a Saquon injury, news or nothing. You need to pick up Devontae Booker and keep him all season long because Saquon is not to be trusted to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so you agree it's news that Devontae Booker should be rostered in all leagues because at any time Saquon could be hurt. But do you think Devontae Booker, now is it news or nothing, Devontae Booker is a weekly starter?
No, absolutely not. I think that they eventually bring in somebody else as well. They may use Kadarius Toney as more of a gadget guy too, because he plays sparingly in the backfield in Florida too. So you have him set in the running back spot back there with Booker.
Right. Yeah, he did wildcat and threw a pass this week.
Yeah. So I definitely wouldn't have Booker as I'm going to pick up Booker and I'm just going to drop him in there as like no. So just because I think that they kind of I feel like Kadarius Toney kind of had his breakout week this week, so they're going to find more ways to get him the ball, and I think Booker's going to definitely get touches, but I wouldn't give him he's not going to get Saquon touches, no way.
So do you think if Saquon is out, is he in a weekly RB2 and should be started in all formats if Saquon's out?
I could see him as a flex play, but not like RB1 or 2. So
okay, yeah, I think I mean dependent on if you have an embarrassment of riches at running back, then of course not. Then he's not if he's your 4th or 5th best running back, even as the starter, then of course you're not playing him because you're not going to bench a Swift or James Robinson or somebody for them. You're not going to do those things. But if you've got your RB2, you're struggling with injuries. You only have one good healthy running back right now. You're looking at maybe Michael Carter as your RB2. Michael Carter is a good flex play, but I'd play Devontae Booker over him. if he's the starting running back, because Michael Carter's still in the committee. He's leading the committee now, and a great pickup if you can find one on waiver wire. But that's still a committee, and Devontae Booker will be a 1. You always want to go with the opportunity. He's going to get more opportunity. So that's why you'd play him. I look at him as a low end RB2 with Saquon out.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely play him in a flex play, and I mean, he'll do his numbers if he gets a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like he gets a touchdown, 30 yards. I mean, that still puts you where you want to be flex wise anyway.
News or nothing. Trey Sermon with Elijah Mitchell healthy did absolutely nothing, 0 fantasy points, and now with Elijah Mitchell back is droppable.
I think, but I mean, it's with San Francisco, man, they're cursed in the running backfield, man. So I mean, I would hold on to Trey Sermon, man. You never know what's going to happen. Elijah Mitchell was hurt before; he'll be hurt again. Unless you don't have a bench spot, to like, and you want to pick up somebody more interesting or have more, availability to play or whatever, I would still hold on to him.
So you have Trey Sermon. For the guys we're talking about today, are you willing to drop him for the Devontae Bookers or some of the other pickups we're going to mention? Let's say an Alex Collins, if he's still available. Are you dropping? Because I'll answer the question first. I'm dropping Trey Sermon if I know a starting running back is available.
Yes.
Because Trey Sermon has proved to be a backup, and even when he's gotten that, when he was the number 1, he put up mediocre numbers, nothing impressive.
Yeah.
Didn't find pay dirt, so he's a backup at this point. He's a handcuff. Can he play again if and when Elijah Mitchell gets hurt? Absolutely. Elijah Mitchell gets hurt, he's the 1 again. So exactly. There's that chance that come week 10 he has fantasy relevance again, and we say, hey, he probably got dropped after week 5. Go back and find Trey Sermon now. But if you need somebody to drop, I have no problem with people dropping him now to pick up somebody that's actually going to bring value to your team this week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you said, if you can get there and get the opportunity to get a 1, easily drop him.
Yeah. And same if you're struggling at a different position. If there's anybody, guy we mentioned last week's episode, Knox. Jeez, a tight end Knox for Buffalo. He scored in 4 straight games now. If people are still leaving him available, pick that guy up. Most tight end for the Chargers had a couple tight ends too. And Brandon, you mentioned Jared Cook. He's not even the best tight end on his team. Parkham Jr. scored 2 touchdowns and scored the week before it. That guy is the guy to pick up. I actually don't remember his first name off the top of my head, but Parkham Jr., tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers, he's been coming on strong. Yeah. He's probably the 4th top pass catcher on the team behind Williams, Allen, Eckler, and then him. But Justin Herbert is playing like potentially the best quarterback in the NFL right now. He lit up arguably one of the best defenses, and maybe I'm a little biased, but being a Browns fan, but that Browns defense, they're beat up right now. We're dealing with a lot of injuries, but the defense is very good, and he torched them.
Yeah, I want you to remember that statement I said about him, about Herbert and Dak Prescott finishing over Hurts. I want you to remember that, JK. Will not be surprised in the slightest bit. Herbert does. I anticipated a bit of a sophomore slump for Herbert. I have proved to be wrong. I did not think he'd be putting up the numbers he's been putting up this year. I am no shame in admitting that I was wrong about that. He's really proven to be that guy. Yeah, he is eating, man. He got a strong ball, and I mean he's he got a rushing touchdown, this week too. So
yeah, he did. It hurt me inside. I watched it. So and Mike Williams. Let's talk about Mike Williams for a second. Mike Williams had a bad game, off game the week before. We talked about it.
I remember you were pissed at Mike. I remember you were salty at Mike.
I wish that dude could have played like that against my Browns, but instead he went ballistic.
Yeah, but see, that's what I was telling you last week, that he actually could have scored last week.
Right.
Herbert missed him on a deep ball.
I agreed with you. Yeah, I agreed with you. And And the thing is, every single game, Mike Williams beats the defense. Every single game. And he scored in every game, I believe, except for that last week. But he still beat the defense. Again, every week he's beating the defense. I don't know how they haven't figured out how to stop it. How not to have a safety ready to be on whichever side of the field Mike Williams is on. But every single week he beats the defense. And he did it to us twice this week. It's bad. So Mike Williams, man, if you got him, good for you. Smart move drafted him. I got him. Oh yeah, in every format. I got him in 2 of my 4 leagues, and yes, I won one of those ones this week. I ended up 3-1 this week, so which puts me 3-2 in 2 leagues. 2 in it's week 5, right? Yeah, 3-2 in 2 leagues, 2 and 3 in 1, and now damn, about to be I think 1-4 in the other. Holy man!
Yeah. I'm getting my first win in Sanchez League this week. So I'm putting up close to 190 this week.
yeah, you see him win nuts. Yeah, it was the team that I'm 1-4 in. My team is just bad, dude. My team is really not. Russell Wilson, he has not performed, and now he's out.
And he's hurt.
The only week I won was week 1. TJ Hawkinson's only good week. I've got Hawkinson in that league. My top wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. He's been performing a tiny bit, but barely. Dude, it's just been bad. I'll tell you real quick. Yeah. So Hopkins, it's former PPR. My wide receivers are weak. My second best wide receiver is Jacoby Myers. That's how weak my wide receivers are. Got Najee Harris, who's okay, but Darrell Henderson, of course, is doing well. But then Mike Davis, Galladay, dude, the team is just terrible. It's a bunch of like C-list celebrities.
Yeah.
So
my one league, I'm at the top of that league, man. I got Derrick Henry's carrying me in that league, though.
Yeah, wow.
So I got him and Mixon. Mixon was out. Yeah, so I got Derrick Henry in that league. He's carrying me pretty good. So
if you were lucky enough to get Derrick Henry, good for you.
Yes.
He is doing what Derrick Henry does, and that is leading people to fantasy championships right now.
Yes.
That is what Derrick Henry does, and that's why he's who he is. So, all right, so yeah, good for you if you have Derrick Henry, and if you want to sell some superstars to get him, if somebody's dumb enough to trade and give it to you, take him.
Take him.
All right.
Absolutely.
Next one. So news or nothing, Darrell Williams is worth a pickup for CEH for the Kansas City Chiefs. Worth a pickup? I think so. I don't think it's a sure thing that CEH is out for 1. And for 2, they have not been featuring the running back. So
but they have been so it's been taking place is they have been featuring the running back. It's just Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you go look at his carries, man, he gets a lot of touches, man. He just necessarily doesn't do much of anything with it. And then when they do get to the goal line for the past 2 weeks, Williams has been vulturing those touchdowns from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, man. So I mean, with him being the actual all-time back, I would pick him up now over Booker easily.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say over Booker, to be honest, but he's definitely worth a pickup. I have him lower than Booker on my pickup just because I don't think CEH is out long. He's out a week. If he is out
2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks? Okay.
They're projecting Saquon to be out a couple weeks, just a couple weeks though.
Right. But I anticipate CEH being back in 1 to 2 weeks. And while CEH and while Saquon Barkley may be back 1 to 2 weeks, I anticipate him getting hurt again 1 to 2 weeks after that. So I always say don't expect injuries, but that guy just it seems like you can predict it with there's very, very few people you can expect to get hurt. Saquon's one of them. Raheem Mostert
and Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook's always gonna get hurt at some point. Raheem Mostert. Yeah. There are certain people you can expect to get hurt. News or nothing. Kadarius Toney is the only pass catcher for the New York G-men worth rostering.
Yes.
All right. Enough said.
Yes.
Enough said. We agree on this one. Kadarius Toney, he's most likely on your waiver wire unless I think he's available in like 65% of leagues or 60% or something. So
yeah.
odds are
I only picked him up. What last week because I'm a Giants fan. I was watching the game. I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and pick up Tony, man, just in case.
Right, they're dealing with so many injuries. Kenny Galladay's down too now. I invested a lot of draft capital in getting Kenny Galladay in multiple leagues of mine. I thought he would have a good year. I was wrong about that one.
Because he was dinged up in Detroit
preseason. Yeah, preseason he was hurt. I just thought he'd come on strong, and it just hasn't happened. But that happens. One thing to monitor: news or nothing. Damien Harris's injury is something to anticipate, and if so, you need to own Ramondre Stevenson. News or nothing, Ramondre Stevenson is the Damien Harris replacement.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. He is. He did a lot of work too in the preseason. He looked really good in the preseason. So
I don't think there's a better rookie in general in preseason than Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
But maybe regardless of position, even he was unstoppable, incredible. And he was one of those guys that, deep leaguers were talking about drafting him too, but Damien Harris proved to be the body back, the strong back for New England. And they typically have a strong back as well as a pass catching back, and then a utility back, and then a boopity bop 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 scat back or something like that. So, but the Damien Harris one, they're saying they're not sure if he's hurt, if he's coming back. So just monitor it. I wouldn't put too much into draft picking up Andre Stevenson right now unless you can't get one of those other guys. If you can get one of those other guys, get anybody else over him right now, because Damien Harris probably play this week, but monitor it. We mentioned Samaje Perine. News or nothing, Samaje Perine has enough value to be rostered.
I don't know, because even last week they projected Mixon to be out, and then they say he's going to be active for the game, and he still got touches. I still think Joe Mixon is going to be the bell cow there, even if I don't know. I wouldn't really, if I had an option between those other guys and Samaje Perine would probably be the last person that I would take.
Yeah, I'm going Booker, then Darrell Williams, then Perine, then Ramondre Stevenson. But Perine, I definitely think has value and could be rostered. But we need to note that he's just been placed on the COVID list. So he's just popped positive for COVID. So he may not even be playing this upcoming week. But Joe Mixon has an injury history, and I believe he outtouched Joe Mixon this week. So we don't know what Joe Mixon is really dealing with.
Yeah. We don't really know, but we don't really know that. But at the same time, he was, on the fringe of being, inactive, and they activated him right before the game started. So that's probably why Perine outtouched him, because obviously if you're on the fringe of not even being active, they're going to decrease your workload for that week too.
Right. I'm just saying he looked good, and the point is we don't know what Joe Mixon's health is. So if you have the spot, I absolutely think Samaje Perine is worth being rostered.
Yeah.
Because he shown he has value. He looked good. He looks really good against the Packers. He scored a touchdown. He looks just good in general. He's shown to be a decent back, and the Bengals seem to trust him enough to be feeding him the ball. But it's all contingent upon Joe Mixon's health. So I monitor the situation. If he sits on the waiver wire and you don't get him, nobody puts in for him, that's fine. Just monitor it, because he's worth rostering if you have an extra spot in case Joe Mixon is out. And these injuries, sometimes you might not know until we weren't certain CMC wasn't playing until day of. We weren't certain that Joe Mixon was playing until day of. So a lot of stuff we won't know until Sunday comes. News or nothing, AJ Dillon is becoming something and is getting the ball and getting fed in Green Bay. News or nothing, he's worth a stash on your roster.
Absolutely. I am buying heavy shares of AJ Dillon, and Lamar Jackson just won one to Hollywood Brown for a touchdown. But I am definitely taking some shares of AJ Dillon, because he is a bell cow. They whenever the Packers drafted him a couple seasons ago, they spent second round capital on him, man. So he's he's a second round back that they are going to start to utilize more, to kind of help share the load with Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones was getting, majority all the touches. So
yeah,
Lamar just got it.
No, he didn't get the 2 though. He didn't get the 2. But so we're talking about free Aaron Jones a ton of times. So that Aaron Jones could be AJ Dillon. We might want to free AJ Dillon this time. AJ Dillon has, I think, earned some touches the way he's looking. Somebody looks that good, you got to give him a little bit of opportunity. So if you have, he's not a guy that's worth starting right now.
No,
but he's in that same Alexander Madison category. Aaron Jones gets hurt, he's a must start.
Yeah,
he's absolutely a must start. He's a good back, in a good system. That he's a number 2, and he's not gonna. I don't not even flex worthy playing. But if you have the spot on your bench to just toss somebody on there just in case, AJ Dillon is a great guy to stash. And it's nice picking up these guys during the week too. Say I like, okay, I've got a nobody on my bench. I've got I don't know. I've got Randall Cobb on my bench, and he's got potential, but like, I don't really need this guy. I've got 3 better wide receivers in a 2 wide receiver league. I don't really need him. Before the games on Sunday, it's nice sometimes to let me pick up a number 2 running back. And this is a philosophy a lot of players will use. And what they'll do is you're just gambling going, just in case that number 1 gets hurt this week, I've got his backup now before anybody else can get him. Yep. And you want to do this with big time number 1s that get the ball a lot. So Antonio Brown's backup. Let me pick up JD McKissick. Austin Eckler's backup. Let me go and get Roundtree. Aaron Jones is backup. Let me get AJ Dillon. He's one of those guys that if you can just toss one on your bench real quick before, because those are the type of guys, those bell cow backs are the ones that get hurt. That is the most commonly hurt position in football. So go and take a stab at any of those, because it's just a guy you're going to drop next week anyway. If you know, hey, I'm probably going to drop this guy next week to pick up whoever the top waiver wire guys are, then go and drop him now and take a stab in the dark. And to me, that's what AJ Dillon is.
And that definitely helps too if you're proactive. I mean, you can't necessarily predict the future or whatever, but you can still kind of be on on the fringe if you like you said, if you have a person that's injury prone, and because if you wait until the bell cow back gets hurt, then you're scraping and fighting with the waiver wire guys like everybody else. So if you're proactive and during the middle of the week and just snatch him up, and if he does nothing for you, you just drop him.
Right. News or nothing, Alex Collins needs to be rostered in all leagues, because
absolutely.
I believe we talked about it. We talked about this one last week, but continue. He didn't have a great night on Thursday, by the way. Not a very good showing, but I think most of us have been playing for a few years. No, Alex Collins is a decent running back. Seen him playing in Baltimore, put up good numbers. I think if he's available still in your league, which I'd be shocked if he is, because he was a pickup last week. But if I looked and he's still available in like 40-something% of leagues. So if Alex Collins is out there for you, make sure you're rostering him.
Absolutely. And on top of the fact that Russell Wilson is injured, and I can't foresee Seattle coming out slinging it 30 times with old Geno. So I think that they're going to feature the run more, which obviously you want to go with, opportunity. So I think the opportunity for Alex Collins is definitely going to be there. So
you are 100% right. Hey, boy. All right. So we mentioned Devontae Booker, AJ Dillon. News or nothing, Giovanni Bernard is worth rostering due to his hit Tom Brady being Tom Brady turns 24 this year. He looks like he's turning 24.
21.
The guy gets younger every year somehow. Yeah. And he loves passing to his running back. News or nothing, Gio is worth rostering, and maybe even worth a flex play, especially in full point PPR formats.
I agree. I would roster him. I don't think I'd go as far as putting him in the flex unless you're really hurting for a running back and maybe he gets lucky and scored a touchdown. But I mean, playoff Lenny scored a lot. He's he's still doing some things down there in the Tampa man. So I would suggest rostering Gio Bernard, but as far as like going so far as a flex play, I would definitely hold him on my bench.
Okay, so I got two more for you. News or nothing. Marquez Calloway finally showed up, turned into the guy that a lot of us drafted him to be. He needs to be rostered in all leagues.
I think that one long touchdown, the Hail Mary was an apparition. I mean, if you're going to depend on the Hail Mary catch to get you points every week, you are not in a good place.
So I also think it's nothing. I think it's not just what have you done for me lately, because 1 week is a fluke. Yeah, I need consistency if I'm giving you a roster spot of mine. So
absolutely,
unless I'm super thirsty and been depleted by all injuries and I just drafted terribly, then sure, of course, dude, take a shot in the dark with anybody. And he's one that potential to catch a touchdown, but nah, I think it's nothing there. News or nothing. David Njoku finally looked like the first end talent that the Cleveland Browns drafted him to be, and he's worth rostering and playing. Yes. David Njoku, tight end of Cleveland Browns.
So the key word is worth rostering. Yes, as worth playing. I mean, even though I could see you gambling on a regular weekend and playing him, because tight ends, like I said, it's only a solid 4, maybe 5 good tight ends in the league that you're going to consistently play for week anyway. So I could definitely see with Njoku, him getting a start just based off of playing numbers that, it's not that many tight ends. It's, most people are playing in 12-man leagues. So I don't see why Njoku wouldn't be able to be rostered and started on somebody's team if you don't have one of the top, the Kelsey, the Kittle, the Andrews, the Hawkinson, in any of those guys. I won't be mad at somebody picking up Njoku and starting him.
Right. For David Njoku, picking him up, sure, but I'm more of the philosophy I'll only own one tight end. So unless it's my bye week, I try to. But if you're a streaming tight end guy, then yeah, take a shot. Look at the matchups. If it's a weak defense, David Njoku is an athletic freak. Yeah. What you've heard everybody talk about Kyle Pitts, David Njoku is that. Now he doesn't always get fed the ball. He doesn't have the best quarterback. Doesn't have Mahomes throwing to him, but he can score, man. He can do a lot. Last news or nothing I got for the week. Hunter Henry finally looked like the guy we thought he'd be when he came to New England, and he's worth rostering and playing in most formats.
Same, like I said, same seats, man. Him and Jonnu Smith both, they are worth just randomly starting on a random week. Like I said, if you're a tight end streamer guy, because there's just not that many great tight ends to play in the first place that you can consistently depend on. So Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, and Njoku. I mean, you can take a flyer on a lot of guys tight end wise, because like I said, it's just, the supply is very low for the demand,
Right. So I actually disagree with that, with comparing him to Jonnu Smith. I don't think Jonnu Smith is worth anything. I don't think anybody should roster Jonnu Smith. I think if anything, Jonnu Smith proved to be the backup tight end, the number 2 tight end in that team. And I think Hunter Henry is worth playing. Matchup dependent. Take a lot into account. Hopefully you don't need a waiver wire tight end, but if you do, he's not a bad one to play. I think he has a ton of potential. A couple things just to mention. Bears defense looked good, and they looked like they're the real deal against the Raiders. They've had some good performances, but it seems like they're finally really coming together. New England kickers are always a thing, and New England kicker had a great week again. So if you're looking for streaming a kicker, that's a great way to go. If you need quarterback help, I'd like to plug famous Jameis Winston 1 second here. So he had a great week this week, but all quarterbacks do against the Redskins. All of them do.
Yes.
But after that, he has a bye coming up. Then he has Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta. All 3 here are giving up a lot of passing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. So if you need a quarterback, famous Jameis is a guy, not this week, because again, he's going to be on bye this week. After that, he's a guy that's available in many leagues and a guy for you to roster. All right, Brandon, a lot of juicy matchups this week. Tom Brady's got a hurt finger going into Thursday nights. Yeah, you think he plays? Do you think it affects anybody's fantasy value?
Definitely think he plays.
I think he plays and throws probably 3 touchdowns.
Yes, easily. Yes, I was like, no brainer. He definitely plays. Yes.
All right. Hey, you got any last minute advice going into week 6? Man, we are a good amount of way in there.
Going to week 6, man. Start to prep, because these bye weeks are coming in hot, man. So if you're one of those guys that drafted a ton of players on the same bye week, you're going to be in trouble, and you might be forced to drop somebody that you don't want to drop. Or another option could be just take the L on a position. That's usually the best option, especially if you have somebody you don't want to drop. You might just have to take the L on a running back slide, wide receiver slide, whatever, tight end slide, whatever, if you didn't properly prepare. But if you have the space to drop, obviously make your moves.
If you have to take an L on a position, I would recommend taking an L on defense. Defense, unless you have a monster defense that is consistently giving you points, which I don't think there are too many. There are no Seahawks defense this year, from when the Legion of Boom was there. There's really not, and the Patriots defense a couple years ago, there isn't really one of those this year. So I would say just this chance your defense gives you negative points. So just take my defense gave me, so just take my defense gave me 0 this week. I'm a Browns fan, but Baker said he was hurt. He looked awful last week. I played the Chargers defense 2 my leagues. I had negative 8 points. I still won that league because I also played Mike Williams in both those leagues. Mike Williams went so ballistic that it made up for those 8 points that I lost. But if you have to do that, I would say take the L on defense. Just don't roster defense that week. But some advice I have going forward is don't be afraid to take 2 really good players, trade them for a great player. It frees you up a roster spot, and also any improvement you can get on any roster position going forward is going to help. So if maybe they have one good wide receiver, or maybe they have one great wide receiver and everything else is garbage. Maybe give them 2 really good ones, and maybe they value that better, because at this point they feel like they're really struggling wide receiver 2. But if they had 2 really good wide receivers, or you give them really good wide receiver and an RB2 for DeAndre Hopkins, who's been struggling, but he's got potential to be that guy every single week. Do it. This is a good time to try to buy people that are down, like AJ Browns, the DeAndre Hopkinses, the guys who value are sky high but have not been performing as well. It's a great time to start offering up some trades.
Exactly.
All right, that's all I got. Week 6. Good luck. Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast. We're out.
Fantasy Freaking Football Podcast, yeah.